All right, welcome. My name is Drew Davis. I'm an artist from San Luis Obispo, and I'm here in my art studio located right downtown San Luis Obispo. And I'm going to give you guys a quick little oil painting lesson here. I'm going to shoot for about 20 minutes and go through some of the basics, and we're going to be painting just a simple little avocado. So I'm going to be using I'm going to be using a limited palette, so just three different colors. So I have yellow ochre, I have alizarin crimson, and I have ultramarine blue. And I'm going to start putting these down here in the palette, and plus black and white. So a little too much. Yeah, so I'm just using regular black, Mars black, and just a regular white, and I have a little bit of just Galkid gel medium. Now for oils, these are really great because they help speed up the dry time. However, if you're using acrylics, it'll be similar process. You're just going to be using water instead of this odorless turpentine, and you don't really need a medium, although there are some different other kinds of mediums you can use. So to start here, we are going to put the paint on our palette. But I like to arrange this kind of like a rainbow here, so I'm actually going to mix a little bit. So this is the first time using this limited palette here, so we're going to see how this goes. And I might need to cheat and add a little extra color if I need a little boost, and we'll see that later. So in theory, you can mix any secondary color by mixing the two primaries together. So if our primary colors are the blue, the red, and the yellow, essentially. I'm gonna mix a little secondary colors here, get those started. And I always like to arrange my palette as much as I can in a rainbow form. So you have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, going around like that. I'm going to grab a little palette knife. And we'll need to modify these later. I just want to kind of start these secondary colors. Now also if you have a secondary color, like a purple, orange, you can put those down there instead of mixing, but I decided to try a little challenge and do this limited palette, see how it comes out. I know I'm going to have trouble with the greens, which is why I might need to cheat and get a little bit of green later, but we're going to see what we can do. I always like to put the white in the center. Good amount of white. And we might not even need the black, but I'm going to give just a little touch of black on the side. So, to start here, I've already kind of given a color to my background, and I always do that with all my work. Either it's a simple, straightforward color, like it's sort of a red, or it's more abstract with more colors. And oftentimes the background I'll do in acrylics, even before I do oils over the top. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of gel. So this gel medium, if you're working with oils, this thins out the paint, but it also speeds up the dry time. Oils in general can take weeks to months to finish drying. That's one of the advantages of acrylic. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I always start with the darks, and so I'm going to mix myself a nice dark. I'm going to stay a little bit red, and I'm going to just start to get these shapes down here. So I want this avocado here, and this part, I treat this like sketching, just sort of sketching it out, so you can make a lot of different marks just until you kind of have the right shape you want. Avocado is kind of particular shape, and so I'm gonna probably require a couple different times. It's not too bad. Maybe this will be back here. Now I always like things to have a horizon, so you could have drawn that first. Horizon line goes all the way across. Just a place for the bottom to end. Paper towel. And this photo, so you can see the photograph I'm working from. It doesn't have a lot of shadows, but I want to, let's see, so the light's going to be coming from here. So I'm going to kind of make some shadow shapes here. Let me kind of get where the shadows at. Now let's do the seed. Again, I'm just sort of sketching in the shape. Right now, the brush that I'm using is a number 2 flat. This is a really good brush for sketching. You can make really nice lines. I don't always sit down when I paint either, so this is a little bit of a different position for me. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the shapes here. Obviously, this line is not gonna be there. What's nice about oils is they don't dry very quickly, and so you have a lot of time to work with them and to blend. You can even kind of wash stuff off. Actually, I guess I'll keep that one in there. It's kind of it's not quite centered, but that's okay. Now, so whenever you have, I'm gonna go to a larger brush now, rinse that off a little bit. Whenever you have a color on your brush, I always like to use it in as many places as I can. And what I'm going to do to start here is I'm going to start with our darks. So what I'm seeing here is, we'll start with the darks of this avocado here, but you also have the shadow. So I'm going to start with the darkest part of the painting, which is going to be the shadow right in here, the shadow on the shell of the avocado. And I see it kind of has some green and a little bit of this purple. It's going to be real dark. I'm even going to grab a hair of black. This is going to be so dark, but we're going to keep it really true to the value. So the value of the color is how light or dark it is. And so I'm always working in values. You always want to know the value that you're working with to avoid making mud and getting lost. So to keep things as simple as possible, just pick a value and work with it. I generally start with the darks and you work from there. So I have those darks there. There's going to be a similar kind of a dark shadow down here. So I'm just going to establish my values. Kind of keep that kind of purpley. Why not? I'm going to kind of do this whole thing. And you see what's nice about having this background with the red is I don't have any bright white to try to get rid of. It's already, you already have a neutral ground to work on, so we're using kind of a bright colored one. So that's that. And I actually think I want a little bit more. So I'm actually going to grab a little bit of white, a little bit of blue. Nope, it's too, that's okay. Don't want to get it too light. Now there is a, you got to be careful about introducing white too soon, because then you're going to start to make things a little bit chalky. You'll kind of ruin the vibrancy of the color if you start to grab your whites too quick, and it'll kind of turn pastel. So you see kind of going up the shadow there, and I have the other value that I mixed, and I'm just going to kind of blend it in. This is one of the advantages of oil paint, is you have the ability to really blend like that. And obviously I have the same color up here. So a little bit of that. Kind of a weird shaped avocado, that's okay. Alright, so we have those darks in there, and let's bring some of the darks down here too. Some more of those. Alright, moving right along. So once I establish my darks, then you can work on, I did the darks and sort of a mid-tone. I'm going to shift gears here to the avocado, and I'm going to grab a different brush that I know for sure is clean. It's not going to contaminate it, because I'm going to start on these bright colors here. And these are going to be kind of rough, because I don't have a real bright blue or bright yellow to create a bright green with, so I'm going to kind of see what I can do. Might need to cheat and get either a brighter yellow or a brighter blue, because this is essentially the color that I can do with this, which I'm going to use anyway on the edge. It's a little bit of a grayish green, but working with what we got. In fact, I'm gonna bring that even bluer. Okay. Actually, before I do that, I'm just gonna set. What's nice about having extra brushes is that you don't need to wash them every time. You kind of can dedicate some brushes for your warmer colors, some brushes to the cooler colors. So I'm actually gonna grab another brush, and I'm gonna find some yellow over here. Gonna steal some off of another palette. Looks like cadmium dark to me there. Or maybe it's cadmium medium. So in order to get this brighter blue, we're going to use some of this cadmium medium. Now you can see I'll be able to create a green that's much, much closer to what I want. Yeah. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go and do this little guy a little bit again. Give us nice bright green. There's more of that. Oop, too much blue. So I'm going to start with this dark green here. And this medium is nice, so you don't have to dip your brush in the thinner. So it's a way to thin it out and kind of hold the paint a little bit longer. And it also helps it dry faster, which is a win-win. So I don't really see any other green in the painting. I'll put a little bit in the stem here. You always want to use the paint on your brush in as many places as you can to help balance the painting. So now I'm going to take the same green that I mixed on the edge, and I'm going to lighten it up by grabbing some white, and I'm going to mesh that into the green that I made, maybe a little bit more yellow. So kind of have a pretty decent avocado green here. I need to make more of that paint, so I'm going to grab some more yellow. More yellow. More white. And a touch more blue. More mediums. The medium also makes the paint go a little farther. Here's a nice, oh yeah, that's a nice avocado-y green there. I like that. So we're just gonna drag that around. Unfortunately, you won't be able to use this on toast, but you can hang it in your kitchen while you eat your avocado toast. Oh, one other thing, so it's going to be a different color for the shadow, which I'll make sure I incorporate. Get that in there. I also like to show, show little bits and pieces of the background is kind of cool. These little bits of red showing through, and especially when you're using greens, because they're complementary, and when complementary colors are put next to each other, they will tend to highlight and make each other stand out even more. So that's kind of cool. So I want to mix a little bit of the shadow for the shadow of the stem here. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more of this blue, a little bit more medium, a little bit more, darken it up, maybe a little bit of this lavender, kind of create a little muddier, darker color. That'll work. That's good for now. I'm also thinking I may need, I have my bright yellow, so the bright yellow is going to be good to create the nice orange colors too. So now I'm going to take some of the yellow and I'm going to mix the seed color. I'm going to mix that into the orange that I pre-mixed. It's a nice orange color, that's pretty good. So this little dot here, that's going to be for my shadow, and you see we want at least 3 different values. So we're going to have the light. So I'm kind of doing this is essentially supposed to be the brightest of this orange color here. Next step is going to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to grab a little bit of this, whatever that was. Looks like a mix a little alizarin, and that should tone that down. And I'm going to bring that color into it. More of that, darker, darker, darker. Yeah. And then actually there's a little bit of a lighter side on here. And you kind of can feather out that to make it a little bit smoother. And for the highlight, we're going to have one just bright reflection. Feather that out a little bit. So that's essentially the basic here. We'll have another 5 minutes to this demonstration, and essentially I'm going to work on more values. And so for instance, like in the back here, what we might do is give these guys some texture, some mixing of thing, kind of give them some little highlight dots where the sun is catching them. And then in here I'm going to go in and add a little bit more, even more value by brightening up and creating one more layer of brightness for the seed. So we have essentially 2. I have this kind of orange, I have this darker orange, and then I actually want to have more of a highlight color for this orange too. And essentially my process of painting is going around in a circle from value to value. So you work on your lights, your mids, your darks, and you go back around and you keep making that circle. So for every color you can do that. For the greens I have this light and the dark, and then when you go back around I can add more. So for example, in the skin here, I see in the very edge it gets even darker. So I'm going to get some avocado green here. I actually want more blue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in one more step further and add this blue or green. And so you also can play with your warm and your cool color. So this is, you have your cool, the cool greens kind of go into a warmer green, and you go back and forth. Now a really fun part here is the background. I like to do this, not necessarily at the very end, but once you have the foreground established. And what we do is this thing called negative painting. And I like to start, you want to start with as large a brush as possible because it blends easier using a large brush. And a little bit of, kind of warm that up a little bit. I want it to be pretty bright, pretty contrasty. And I'm just going to go right around the outside here, and I'm going to essentially cut away what I don't want. So I can shape that over there. I can kind of create a shape here. I'm going to create these background. Now you can do lots of cool colors. I'm just going simple with white because it's going to be a lot of contrast and pretty fun. And this is a short demo. If you guys are interested in taking more of my classes, or I'm planning on doing some online courses here soon, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Drew Davis Fine Art. I have a newsletter that I send out, and if you want to get updated with that, you can sign up for that on my website, drewdavis.com. So yeah, have the background, and I always want the foreground. You want the contrast, So I don't know. Let's make it blue. So I'm gonna keep it pretty bright like this, but I'm gonna create this nice blue background. And you see when you have that on there, it really makes everything pop. And that's what we like. I'm incorporating that purple in there to make it a nice Alright, well, we're almost out of time, but that gives you a basic idea. And just to recap, you start on a colored background, sketch in with a nice flat or a small brush. You get your basic shapes. And then you start filling out the values. I generally start, I like to pick my dark values first, and then you kind of work from there. And just keep going around and around. So you work on your darks, you work on your lights, you work on your mids, and just think every color should have pretty much every value. So you want a dark, a mid, and a light, and everything. And you just go around and around. So so I'd go back into my darks here, maybe add a little bit more, some cooler darks, because there's kind of some warmer colors there, and you can keep on developing the colors you have. Ooh, another thing that I forgot here, call this the final here, is I want my dark at the very, very end. Little outer shell here. And a couple more right here. I'm gonna get this guy. So also another trick is learning when to stop. You don't want to overwork it, but you also want to push yourself. You want to see how much you can develop it. And sometimes I'll sit down and I give myself permission to overwork it or just to experiment. So, don't set yourself expectations. Just think of this as a way to kind of play around and have fun with some paint. Because every painting you do is a new learning experience, and you can grow from it. And you take what you learn into the next piece. So, again, practice, keep doing it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching my little short lesson. If you have any questions about anything, please reach out to me. Like I said, my social media is Drew Davis Fine Art. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. And thank you guys. Stay safe, stay sanitized.